Imagine a soldier in the heart of World War II, surrounded by the chaos of battle, yet he refuses to carry a gun. His comrades mock, calling him a coward. His superiors try to kick him out of the army. But this same man would go on to save 75 of his fellow soldiers in a single night, without ever firing a single shot. This is the incredible true story of Desmond Doss, the soldier who went to war without a weapon. Desmond Doss was born in Lynchburg, Virginia. In 1919, he was raised in a devout Seventh-day Adventist family, and from a young age, the sixth commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," was etched into his very being. He saw it not just as a suggestion, but as an absolute law from God. When the attack on Pearl Harbor plunged the United States into war, Desmond felt a patriotic duty to serve his country. But he faced a deep internal conflict. How could he serve in the army and stay true to his most fundamental belief? So, he enlisted voluntarily, but with a unique condition. He would serve as a conscientious objector, a medic who would save lives, not take them. From the moment he arrived at basic training, his life became a living nightmare. The army wasn't prepared for a soldier who wouldn't even touch a rifle. He was an outcast. His fellow soldiers, preparing for the horrors of war, couldn't understand his stance. They saw it as weakness, as cowardice. They harassed him relentlessly, beat him, and threw their boots at him while he prayed. His commanding officers were just as perplexed. They saw him as a liability, a man who couldn't be trusted in combat. They tried everything to get rid of him. They put him on kitchen duty, tried to have him discharged for being mentally unstable, and even attempted a court-martial for his refusal to obey a direct order to carry a weapon. But Desmond stood firm. He wasn't asking to avoid the war. He was begging to serve, to be the one running into the fire to help the wounded. He wanted to be a medic, and he would not back down. Finally, after enduring immense pressure and proving his resilience, the Army relented. In 1945, Private First Class Desmond Doss was deployed with the 77th Infantry Division to the Pacific Theater. Their destination was one of the bloodiest battlefields of the entire war, Okinawa, Japan. The specific mission was to capture a formidable 400-foot-high cliff known as the Maida Escarpment, or as the soldiers grimly called it, Hacksaw Ridge. This sheer rock face was heavily fortified with a network of Japanese machine gun nests, caves, and traps. Taking it seemed like a suicide mission. The fighting was brutal and relentless, with casualties mounting at an alarming rate. On one fateful day, American troops managed to take the top of the ridge, but a ferocious Japanese counterattack sent them reeling. The order was given to retreat. Soldiers scrambled back down the cargo nets they had used to climb up, leaving the top of Hacksaw Ridge, a chaotic scene of death and destruction. But one man didn't retreat. Desmond Doss stayed behind, alone. The plateau was a horrifying landscape, littered with the bodies of his fallen and wounded comrades. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder and the sounds of dying men, with enemy soldiers still actively sweeping the area. For any other soldier, staying would have been certain death. For Desmond, it was his duty. As night fell, Desmond began his impossible mission. Under the constant threat of enemy patrols and artillery fire, he crawled through the mud and blood from one wounded soldier to the next. He wasn't just patching them up. He was single-handedly dragging them, one by one, to the edge of the cliff. He then fashioned a special rope sling he had devised, and carefully lowered each man, one by one, down the sheer rock face to the safety of the American lines below. He was completely exposed, a lone figure against the backdrop of a brutal battlefield. With every man he saved, he prayed a simple, desperate prayer. "Lord, please help me get one more." He repeated this all night long. For 12 hours he worked tirelessly, fueled by adrenaline and unwavering faith. When the sun rose, the soldiers below were stunned. They had sent up litters to retrieve 1 or 2 wounded they thought might be left. Instead, Desmond Doss had lowered an estimated 75 men to safety. The impact of that single night was profound. The men who had once mocked him as a coward now looked at him with awe and reverence. He had earned their absolute respect, not with a gun, but with unparalleled courage and self-sacrifice. His reputation spread throughout the company. From that day on, no one questioned his bravery. In fact, his presence became a source of strength for the entire unit. They refused to go into battle without him. On one occasion, a planned assault was even delayed because Desmond, their medic, was observing the Sabbath and needed to finish his prayers. The man they once tried to kick out of the army had become their indispensable guardian angel. On October 12, 1945, Desmond Doss stood at the White House as President Harry Truman prepared to place the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration, around his neck. He became the first conscientious objector in American history to receive this award. President Truman, holding the medal, told the crowd, "I'm proud of you. You really deserve this. I consider this a greater honor than being president." Desmond had proven that courage comes in many forms, and his was a courage born of conviction, not of violence. Desmond's heroism came at a great personal cost. He was wounded several times during the war and later contracted tuberculosis, which cost him a lung and 5 ribs. He spent years in and out of hospitals and was deaf in one ear due to the illness. Yet he never expressed regret. His story remained relatively unknown for decades until it was famously brought to the big screen in the 2016 film Hacksaw Ridge, directed by Mel Gibson. The film introduced his incredible story to a new generation, cementing his legacy as a symbol of unwavering faith and courage in the face of unbelievable adversity. The story of Desmond Doss forces us to reconsider what it truly means to be brave. It's a powerful reminder that true strength doesn't always lie in the power to destroy, but sometimes in the unwavering commitment to save. His life proves that one person, armed with nothing but their convictions, can change the world, or in his case, save 75 of them, one soul at a time. He showed us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph of moral conviction over it. Thank you for watching.